For decades, the death of Princess Diana has been just completely surrounded by questions, right? Rumors, explosive allegations. But what did the official investigations, and we're talking millions of dollars and over a decade of work, what did they actually find? Okay, let's really dive in here and try to separate the hard evidence from all the speculation. Okay, so let's just start with the facts, the things nobody disputes. August 31st, 1997, just after midnight in Paris, a black Mercedes S280 carrying Princess Diana and Dodi Al-Fayed slams into the 13th pillar of the Pont de Lama tunnel. I mean, the event itself was just a horrible tragedy. But the questions, well, they started almost immediately. And this. This is the letter that just ignited an absolute firestorm. It was written by Diana herself, only 10 months before she died. And it reads like this: chilling premonition of her own death, specifically mentioning a car crash. So right away, the central question for investigators was huge. Was this just a tragic, horrible accident, or was it something way, way more sinister? All right, so before anyone could even think about conspiracies, the investigators had to figure out the immediate cause of the crash itself. What happened in that tunnel? And their focus landed squarely on two groups: the man who was driving and the photographers who were chasing the car. So first up was the driver, Henri Paul. And the findings, well, they were pretty damning. He was going over 65 miles per hour. That's more than double the speed limit. His blood alcohol level, over 3 times the legal limit in France. And on top of that, he had antidepressants in his system. But here's the detail that really fueled speculation for years and years. He was also a confirmed low-level informant for the French security service. Okay, now what about the paparazzi? This is where you see a major conflict in the official story. The first investigation, the French one back in '99, completely cleared them, said nope, they were too far behind, not their fault. But then, almost a decade later, a British inquest looks at the same evidence and comes to the total opposite conclusion. They found that the photographer's grossly negligent pursuit was a direct cause. So you've got two countries, two official inquiries, and two completely different verdicts. How does that happen? And that conflicting verdict on the paparazzi, it left the door wide open for a much, much bigger theory. This one was pushed really hard by Dodi Al-Fayed's father, Mohammed. He claimed the crash wasn't about negligence at all. He said it was a carefully orchestrated assassination carried out by the British establishment. And his allegations were incredibly specific. He didn't just say the establishment. He pointed the finger directly at Prince Philip, accusing him of ordering MI6 to do it. And the motive? To stop Diana, the mother of a future king of England, from marrying a Muslim. The whole theory really depended on two absolutely explosive claims. One, that she was secretly pregnant with Dodi's child, and two, that they were about to announce their engagement. Okay, so let's tackle that first big claim, the one that provides the motive. Was Diana actually pregnant? Now, Mohammed Al-Fayed was absolutely certain she was. He even claimed that the embalming of her body was a deliberate cover-up to hide the pregnancy. But the massive British police investigation called Operation Paget looked into this exhaustively. And here's what they found. Blood samples that were taken before any transfusions tested negative for pregnancy hormones. The physical autopsy, no evidence of pregnancy. And to top it all off, close friends testified that based on her menstrual cycle, a pregnancy was scientifically impossible at that time. All right, so the pregnancy claim really doesn't seem to hold water. So what about the second part of the motive, the engagement? Were they actually planning to get married? Well, this one is a little more complicated. There was a ring. Investigators found a receipt for a 130,000-pound ring with "Dis-moi oui," tell me yes, on it. But, and this is a really crucial detail, the ring was found back in Dodi's apartment after the crash. It wasn't on her finger. Plus, her closest friends told investigators that while Dodi might have been serious, Diana really just saw it as a distraction from her really tough breakup with her previous love, Hasnat Ham. And then, in the middle of the inquest, a piece of evidence surfaced that just complicated the whole hateful royal family narrative. It was a letter from Prince Philip to Diana, and in it he calls her dearest pal. I mean, far from the villain Al-Fayed was painting, Prince Philip sounds like a genuinely concerned father-in-law trying to help both her and Charles. This letter really challenged that idea of a murder plot born out of pure hatred. Okay, so even if the main murder plot theory starts to look shaky, you can't deny that this case was just filled with strange facts and loose ends.
And these are the details that have kept the suspicions alive for decades.
So, the investigators had to go through these one by one. First, you've got the ambulance delay. An hour and 43 minutes to get to the hospital. Turns out that's explained by the French stay-in-play medical protocol. They stabilize you at the scene, which is different from the scoop and run method in the US and UK. Okay, what about the missing CCTV? Well, the investigation found that most of those cameras were for live traffic monitoring. They weren't actually recording. Then there's the mystery of the white Fiat Uno, the car the Mercedes definitely hit. Police found it was likely just a random civilian driver who got scared and took off. The main suspect, a photographer, had a totally solid alibi. And finally, that white flash some witnesses saw. An ex-MI6 agent actually confirmed that a strobe light was part of a rejected assassination plan for a Serbian leader. So the tech existed, but there was zero evidence connecting it to Diana's crash.
So after all of this, after a decade of inquiries, of forensic analysis, witness testimony, and constantly battling these huge conspiracy claims, it was finally time for the British inquest to give the final word.
But at the very heart of this whole thing is the absolutely tragic testimony of the only survivor, the bodyguard, Trevor Rees-Jones. He said, "I'm the only person who can tell people for real, and I can't remember." His memory of the crash was just gone, wiped clean by his injuries. The one person who could have given a definitive answer simply couldn't. It just highlights the truth that was lost forever in that tunnel. So the jury didn't rule it a murder, but they also didn't call it a simple accident. They came back with a very specific verdict: unlawful killing. Now, it's really important to understand what that means in British law. It's basically the same as manslaughter. It means the deaths were caused by gross negligence, extreme recklessness, but without the premeditation that would make it murder. So this, right here, is the final official word, after 10 years. The jury said the unlawful killing was the fault of two parties. One, the grossly negligent driving of the drunk driver, Henri Paul, and two, the grossly negligent driving of the paparazzi who were chasing them. They also made a point to say that a contributing factor was that the victims weren't wearing seatbelts. And, crucially, the coroner told the jury that after all the evidence they had seen, there was, and I quote, "not a shred of evidence of a murder plot by the royal family or MI6. So, in the end, the official investigations gave us answers, right? A drunk driver, a reckless chase, no seatbelts. But for so many people, the story of a plot is the one that sticks. And maybe that leaves us with one last lingering question. When the cold, official facts of a tragedy crash head-on with our deepest fears about power, about secrets, about persecution, which story is the one that actually endures?